Season 3 of Star Trek Picard has been held as a very different show from the previous 2 seasons. With a different focus, a different showrunner, and the original Star Trek The Next Generation cast back, it's clear that the third and final season has departed from the first 2 before it. If you're interested in this third season and need either a recap or knowledge from the previous seasons, as well as other Star Trek shows, we're here for you. Picard is back this week on February 16th, 2023. All the cast from Star Trek The Next Generation also return alongside Picard, including Riker, Worf, Troi, Crusher, LaForge, and even Brent Spiner as Lore, or is he playing someone else? 7 and 9 and Raffi also return from the second season, and the new hero ship is the USS Titan A. So yeah, there is a lot to go through. So what do you need to know before you watch Star Trek Picard Season 3? Well, we've included all the need to know details in this video. The video is chaptered here on YouTube, therefore you can move through sections as you please. Here we go. Welcome to Trek Central. I'm your host, Captain Jack. Here at Trek Central, we're covering Star Trek Picard Season 3 in full detail. Therefore, if you want to stay updated over the next 10 weeks, hit that subscribe button. My team and I are super excited to share all the details and theories with you, as well as explain the hidden details you might have missed. Okay, let's go. Engage. Well, let's go through some of the characters of this Star Trek Picard season, and what's previously happened in their lives that might be relevant to the third season. Let's start with the characters most connected to the events following Star Trek Nemesis, and leading into the first season of Star Trek Picard. Jean-Luc Picard is the titular character of the show Picard. There is a lot of stuff you need to know about our favourite captain heading into the third season. After the events of Nemesis in 2379, where Picard and the Enterprise E dealt with Shinzon's coup on the Romulan Empire, more Romulus events transpired going into the 2380s. In 2381, the Romulan star was discovered to unnaturally progress through the stages, leading to a supernova. Picard, wanting to help one of the Federation's oldest enemies, would lead the Romulan relocation mission, getting promoted to Admiral and helping move many Romulans from Romulus and nearby territories to these new worlds. Picard would also lead the USS Enterprise E, and the command would be passed to someone else, perhaps somebody we might know. He would move some colonists to the world of Vashti, which is on the Federation side of a Romulan neutral zone, which would inevitably lead to the collapse of the neutral zone, which was set up over 220 years prior. Starfleet would abandon the Romulan relocation mission after the destruction of Utopia Planitia and an entire fleet of Wallenberg-class freighters, which would have assisted with the mass relocation of the Romulan people. This attack on Mars was carried out by the A500 synthetic androids. It was a semi-sentient android workforce used to create so many starships in so little time. These androids were created by Dr. Bruce Maddox, who collaborated with Commander Geordi LaForge. They were hacked by a rogue Tal Shiar group known as Zat Vash. This event caused Admiral Picard to retire and live in his chateau for the next decade, with his 2 Romulan caretakers, Lars and Shaban. Admiral Picard would be roped back into the action when a young girl called Daj, played by Issa Briones, comes to him seeking help. She turned out to be a synthetic life form and the daughter of the deceased Lieutenant Commander Data, created through a process of fractal neuronic cloning, which took a positron from Data, which was recovered from the Battle of the Basin Rift, and created 2 positronic matrices, which became the android twins Daj and Soji Asher. Daj would, unfortunately, be killed by the Zat Vash hit squad. Picard would take on an unofficial mission of finding Soji, which he does, and also finding the synth homeworld of Coppelius, which he would defend from a fleet of Tal Shiar ships with the help of Starfleet and a very familiar captain.
Right now, I'm on the bridge of the toughest, fastest, most powerful ship Starfleet has ever put into service. And I've got a fleet of them at my back. We've got our phasers locked on your warp cores. And nothing would make me happier than you giving me an excuse to kick your treacherous Tal Shiar ass.
In the early 25th century, Picard would come to start a romance with Laris, his Romulan caretaker, after mending his heart with the help of Q and some sage advice from his long-time confidant, Guinan. Where his relationship will be at the start of Picard Season 3, we don't know. From what we do know, Picard is pulled back into the adventure at the start of the third season, one of which comes about with the idea of legacy. Rafaela Musica was a former Starfleet intelligence officer who worked with Admiral Picard during a Romulan relocation mission. With an eye for conspiracy theories, she tried to find out who was truly responsible for the attack on Mars, but was pushed out of Starfleet for doing so, as well as her family abandoning her as well. She blamed Jean-Luc for this, and unfortunately got addicted to a drug called Snake Leaf. However, after the events of Season 1 and joining back up with Picard for his unofficial mission and finding out she actually was correct with her conspiracy theories, she was let back into Starfleet and helped Jean-Luc out at Starfleet Academy. She would also be in a relationship with 7 of 9 and take the young Starfleet cadet, Elnor, under her wing. Last we know, she will be assigned to the USS Excelsior during a training cruise for cadets. So whether she's still in Starfleet Academy helping with cadets alongside Jean-Luc, or she's gone off and done her own thing, who knows. After Seven joined Starfleet, the ownership of the SS La Serena would pass to Raffi. Considering we see her doing underworld security stuff or intelligence things, she might have gone back to Starfleet Intelligence, after a small stint working at the Academy. It is said that Raffi's current Starfleet status is classified heading into Season 3, so that leads us to believe she is working for Starfleet Intelligence. Hopefully not Section 31, because we all know they're a bit dodgy. The last we saw of Geordi LaForge, he was the chief engineer of the USS Enterprise E. However, there is some ancillary information about where Geordi was between the events of Star Trek Nemesis and Star Trek Picard. Geordi was said to be in charge of Utopia Planitia during the attack on Mars and got survivor's guilt when he survived the attack, when so many other people he worked with died. Whether this is still true for Picard's third season is not known. All we know is that Geordi now has 2 daughters at least, Alondra and Sydney. These are identical to the names of LaForge's kids in the anti-time feature from Star Trek The Next Generation, all good things. But whether the third child of Brett is still in the picture is unknown. Geordi has become a Commodore since the events of Star Trek Nemesis, and seems to be in charge of a space station, which is just about all we know. However, Star Trek logs have confirmed that LaForge was given a series of special assignments by Starfleet Command. What these assignments are about is unknown. They could be related to the starbase he's in charge of in Picard Season 3. Perhaps he's working on some familiar starships. You should check out our video on that one. William T. Riker and Deanna Troi are a little more known about, with their appearance in Season 1 of the show. Previously, we knew from Star Trek Nemesis that Riker and Troi moved from the Enterprise E to the USS Titan. No, not the Titan in this third season, more on that later. We would then see some of these Titan adventures in Star Trek Lower Decks, where the USS Titan dealt with a Packard incident in 2380. The only other thing we know that happened during the Riker-Troi's time period was the birth of their children, Thaddeus Troi Riker and Kestra Troi Riker. Thaddeus Troi Riker was born aboard the Titan and would meet Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. However, he would develop Midrak's neurolycosis, which could be treated by cultivating infected cells in a positronic matrix. However, due to the synth ban and the development of positronic-based technology following the attack on Mars, this too was also banned. Troi and Riker would retire to their children to the planet Nepenthe in 2391, due to the planet's regenerative properties of the planet being their last hope for curing Thaddeus. However, he would not recover and eventually succumb to his illness. Troi and Riker would still be active in reserve of Starfleet during this time, despite retiring. So when Jean-Luc required help over the synth homeworld of Coppelius, Captain William T. Riker would come to his aid aboard the USS Zheng Ho, and being backed by a fleet of Inquiry-class starships. According to the Star Trek logs written by the writers of the show, which give us more information about characters and events, after this act of Riker captaining the Zheng He, or Zheng Ho, depending on pronunciation, Riker would actively return to Starfleet. However, he would return to assist with the creation of the USS Titan A, a ship which would be honouring both his legacy of the lunar-class USS Titan and the original USS Titan NCC 1777. The original USS Titan would be commanded by Captain Savick and was a Shangri-La-class starship. The vessel would become the flagship of Starfleet under recommendation of Captain Sulu of the USS Excelsior, and be instrumental in maintaining frontier stability between the Kittimer Accords and the Federation and Klingon empires. Oh, and also before the launch of the Enterprise B. So Riker would assist with the construction of a Titan A, which would honour his service with the registry of his lunar-class Titan and honour Savick's legacy with the space frame of the A being similar to the Shangri-La class with the new Constitution 3 class, otherwise known as the New Constitution class. We actually don't know much about Dr. Beverly Crusher after the events of Star Trek Nemesis, but from background information for Season 3, we do know that she's basically been set up to become a Doctors Without Borders, helping planets that have been forgotten or left by the Federation. She's captaining her own TNG-era starship, the SS Ilios. We know that she does not do this alone, as she's helped by a new character played by Ed Spelliers. Who this character may be in relation to Crusher, as someone suggested, he could be a secret son between her and Picard, or he's simply another Starfleet doctor who wants to help Crusher. We don't know. All we do know, from a revealed scene from the first episode of Picard Season 3, is that she's in trouble, and sends an SOS signal to Jean-Luc Picard along with encrypted coordinates. Beverly seems to be keeping some relics of her past close to her. On board her ship, we can see she has her husband's old Starfleet locker, this being Jack Crusher's Starfleet equipment. Jack was a close personal friend of Jean-Luc Picard, with the two both serving on the original USS Stargazer. Okay, we know a little bit more about Worf. Obviously, after his stint on the USS Enterprise D, Worf would serve aboard the space station Deep Space Nine, and be the commanding officer of the USS Defiant when Captain Sisko is unavailable. Worf would be instrumental in the powers of the Quadrant, aiding during the Klingon War with the Cardassians, the Dominion War, and even changing the Klingon Empire, by making Martok the new Chancellor of the Empire. For his service, Worf would become the Klingon ambassador to the Federation. However, how long he remained ambassador for is not known.
You should know that I now prefer pacifism to combat.
He would keep his Starfleet service and similarly return to Starfleet in 2379, attending the wedding of William T. Riker and Deanna Troi and helping aboard the Enterprise E during the Shinzon crisis. After this, however, we go into beta canon sources, and again, whether Picard's third season will follow this is unknown. Worf would become the captain of the Enterprise E for a short while, after Captain Picard was promoted to Admiral and leading a Romulan relocation mission. According to the Star Trek logs on Instagram, the personnel file would say he did achieve the rank of captain and he was only on the Enterprise E for a short time, and stepped down after an incident on Krilla Prime. What this incident was will be further explored in Picard's third season. Now, Lore. He's an interesting one, and we know that he's coming back in the third season. What about where we last saw him? Well, we last saw him, he was in control of a group of rogue Borg drones on a planetary base of Lore's World. Original naming there, yes, they really did call it Lore's World, and no, it's not a theme park. He had the emotion chip and tried to coerce his brother Data into joining him, but was eventually deactivated by his brother as it was recommended that he would be dismantled. This was the last confirmed thing we know about Lore up until this date. With B4 being disassembled and stored at the Daystrom Institute, we could assume that Lore was also sent to the Daystrom Institute for storage. However, from the fact he wasn't present at the Daystrom Institute in 2399, when Agnes Jurati would show B4's body to Picard, we can assume that he wasn't there at all in 2399. If you had Lore in storage, why wouldn't you show that instead of B4? According to the Star Trek logs, it's somewhat confirmed that he was in the possession of Alton Ingo Soong, the son of Dr. Noonien Soong, who was working with Bruce Maddox to create the Copoleus androids, and also perfect the Soong method of mind transference into an artificial flesh and blood body, or golem. It seems, just like was said in Discovery Season 4 of the Soong method, it had a low success rate, with Picard being one of the lucky ones with his transference into the new body. As it is said, Alton died shortly thereafter, possibly attempting this method and dying in the process. Lore would be handed to the Daystrom Institute after the death of Alton Soong, and this might be where we find him in Season 3, or perhaps he's already been reassembled and reactivated. We're gonna have to wait and see and find out. We know from the trailers that Moriarty will be back in the final season, though what role he will be fulfilling, who knows. Whether helping our heroes or siding with the villains, again, who knows. The last we saw of Moriarty was he was a sentient holoprogram who was created as someone who could best the android Data. However, he was tricked by the Enterprise crew into believing he had won and gained his freedom, along with a consort, Countess Regina Bartholomew. They, however, were trapped in a holoprogram themselves, which would be running on a small box on the USS Enterprise D. Presumably the box was recovered after the destruction of the Enterprise D in Star Trek Generations at the Battle of Viridian 3. Whether Moriarty realised that he was still in the holoprogram, or perhaps the destruction of the Enterprise D caused the holoprogram to become unstable and make Moriarty realise he'd been tricked for all those years, it could make sense why he seems to be a little bit angry in Season 3. However, there is also the possibility that its original creator, Geordi LaForge, recovered the program for the Enterprise D. Season 2 of Picard informed us the sources section was recovered and put on display, so anything's possible. From trailers and behind the scenes comments, this has been all you need to know about Picard Season 3. It's the third and final season. We have all our Next Generation crew coming back, as well as some villains, and seeing them after 20 years in and out of the universe is going to be amazing. But how have they changed in these 20 amazing years of Starfleet? We'll find out when Picard Season 3 debuts on February 16th, 2023 on Paramount Plus in the United States and on CTV's Sci-Fi Channel and Crave in Canada. This will also be available on Amazon Prime Video service for those international locations in the following days. For coverage of Star Trek Picard Season 3, make sure to follow Trek Central. Are you looking forward to the final season of Picard? Any Next Generation crew members you're excited to make a return, or perhaps you're looking forward to a cheeky cameo? All of them just being on screen at the same time, it's going to be amazing. Let us know in the comments below. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.